Howdy, howdy. I'm going to go find the
Lip.
finish button now.
Flip camera. Front facing. Flashlight chooser. Flashlight off. Comment section. Tag friends. Formats. Creative to flip camera. Flashlight choose. Invite. Invite to go live
Maybe
with.
I'm
Button.
not.
Comment. Finish. Finish.
There
button.
it is.
Comment. Button.
I'll leave it there for now. Hey, everybody.
4:58 p.m.
I got to tell you, Faith, people have been looking forward to this. I usually go in a day or so ahead of time and do a little promo, and there's a lot of reaction to this. I think you got fans out there. Some pre-show notes from pre-show stuff. I've been telling everybody since we did the defensive show that I would write out all of those defensive drills and share those. I have written them. I just have not shared them yet. So they are coming. I'll probably do that tomorrow. I didn't want it to interfere with tonight's show. So I will be posting that. Nobody's been out practicing anyway, so get on my backside. I don't need it. And then want to make a request for some ideas from people. You know, we can only talk so much offense and defense and hitting, blah, 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 running, whatever. And people have been listening and seeming to enjoy the show. I've been having a ton of fun doing it. I want to keep doing it. But, I would like some ideas for people on what you'd like to hear. Tonight we're doing more of a feature episode, which is something that I want to start doing more of. So if there are players or coaches or whatever, teams that you want to know more about, hear about, reach out to me. Let me know, and I will try to make it happen.
5 p.m.
And we are at the top of the hour, so it's time for the tunes. Let's do it! Yeah. Welcome back to the Beepball Blues Show, everybody. I'm very, very excited about this show. I think this is going to be fun. For those of you that could see, I've got a little bit of a different angle this week. Most of you probably won't even notice because it's just an iPhone camera. But I sit here at my computer desk, and I got the little tray that comes out from underneath, and that's where I put everything. I've got Faith. You ought to see how technically sound I am. I've got this little tray out from under my table. I've got the iPad sitting on one end of it. I have my sheet of Braille notes on the other end of it. And in the middle, I have Huggy Bear, my little teddy bear. That's the only stand I have for my iPhone, holding my iPhone, looking at me. It's technical.
That's cute.
And I play the music off my computer. Woo! Yeah. But hello. I am your host, the 2000 offensive MVP, 5-time world champion, Neil McMother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to everybody. Faith, are you a mama?
I am not a mother. Thank you for asking.
Well, then you ain't getting no love then. You know, I also am not a parent. But if I had $1 for every time I was called a mother something or another, I think I could pay for the entire World Series. And I mean, all the teams getting there and everything. 'Cause I've been called a few names over my lifetime, Faith. Well, hello, everybody. I'm very excited to announce that we are going to be featuring the women of our league tonight. You might think that I'm clever and cute by doing this on Mother's Day, but I can't even give myself that much credit. I actually, the week leading up to having Darnell Booker on, the little meet the player stuff that Kalari, we're going to talk about Miss Kalari Gertley Jackson, by the way, also. I got some thoughts about her, but she does these really cool pieces about all the players and volunteers in the women of our league. And when I saw the piece on number 33 of both the Tyler what are they called? Tyler Tigers. Good Lord. The Tyler number 33 from the Tyler Tigers and from the Southwest Bombshells. Rosie Reed. I was like, that's what our next show needs to be. And I reached out to the group, and they got right back to me, and they set me up with my guest, who I'm happy to introduce, number 63 from the Austin Blackhawks, and more importantly for tonight's show, number 36 of the Southwest Bombshells, Miss Faith Nicole Penn. Welcome, Faith. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. You want to get into Kalari right away, or should you want to wait?
If you want to talk about Kalari, right ahead. Kalari is our social media specialist, so she's posted all of our stuff right now.
I hear you. I think you guys have to consider letting her out of the group for ethical reasons.
Why do you say that?
Because she has stoled from me. She stole something from me.
Oh, goodness. That's not good. What did she stole it from you?
Thank you for asking properly. I appreciate that. She stole it. She stole the 2003 NBBA World Championship from me. That was supposed to be my championship.
Oh, well, I'm going to have to side with my girl Kalari here. She did that. Good for her.
Oh, so you're in support of having thieves. Of having thieves in your group. All right.
Those types of things I might be a little bit supportive of.
All right. I'll try other angles. I'll get her out of there. I have a funny story from the 2003 championship that I bet not a lot of people know. And since I was on the laughing end of it, I probably shouldn't share it, but I think this is a really good NBBA story. So I played for the West Coast Dogs, and we played the Chicago Comets in the 03 championship, and we went in as the undefeated team, and they whooped us twice. Kalari scoring left and right on me, and they won the championship. So later that night, do you know Bam Bam from the Houston team?
Yes.
Yeah, that's my twin brother. We played together on that. We were part of the founding members of the West Coast Dogs. So afterwards, I don't remember if this was. I think this was after the banquet on Saturday night. We're sitting in Seth's room. Christina's there. I believe Eric Masriai-Agos and Danny Fapiano are there. I don't know, that small group of us sitting in there, crying in our beers, licking our wounds. And all of a sudden, there's all this banging at the door. We're in Seth's room, and his room was at the very end of this hallway. And where his door was, there was like a little alcove or incove or cove. I don't know what to call it, but you know what I mean? You walked in a little bit to get to his door, but the only thing in that little area was his door. So there's all this banging on Seth's door, and we go answer like, what, who's bothering us? What? And we open the door, and there's this big it was right outside his room, up against the wall. It's like, I don't know, visually it's like a bookshelf, but it's not a bookshelf. It's fancier than that. It's bigger, and it has, like plants and stuff on it. It's kind of thing like if it was at your grandparents' house, it'd have china and stuff in it probably. But it was big and heavy. And somebody, they had moved it to block Seth's door, so we couldn't get out of it. And we opened the door, and man, these comments are walking. They all go running down the hallway singing "We Are the Champions," and we couldn't get out and chase them. That was wrong.
That sounds funny.
It was wrong.
It sounds like something I would do. I think I would do that. It sounds funny. It sounds like it would be something I would do for sure.
All right. Well, talking about wool, first I want to tell everybody you need to go check out their Facebook page. You can find it at NBBA, Women of Our League. Go over there. All you got to do, you don't even have to ask them to like you. You could just go hit the follow page, and they're stuck with you. So you should be following them. Considering all the members we have in our league, the fact that there's only like 250 something people following their page is disappointing. So get over there after this show and give them a follow. Now, Faith Penn, tell us, what is your story? How did you come to Beepball and ultimately to the women of our league?
All right. Okay, so I was first introduced to beat baseball by my friend Richie Flores. We were in a mentoring program together, and we brought our mentees out to a like a retreat or something. And Richie was involved in beat baseball, and he was constantly telling me about it. And I sort of blew him off. I wasn't even in Austin. I was in college at the time, and I wasn't really feeling it at all. I didn't even like baseball. I'm like, well, why would I want to play something I don't even like? So I was interested in it whatsoever. So anyway, so he brought a few of his players and his pitcher at the time. It was Kevin Simpson and his catcher Kenny Whittier. And brought some players out, and just for them to so we can get an idea of what beat baseball was. Now, it was specifically for the mentees, but the mentors that could participate after the mentees had an opportunity to go and try to swing a bat and try to field the ball. So
and you went and turned the table.
So I did want to try it before I said I didn't like it. So I went and tried to field the ball, and I hated it because I'm like, I don't like the idea of some random ball flying at my face. So I mean, if you guys know me, that's how I went blind. I got hit in the face with the ball. So I'm like, why would I want a ball to be flying at my face? I'm not interested at all. So I was not feeling it at all. And then we went up to try to bet.
Can I ask you a question real quick? I mean,
sure.
What I mean, you did, the way you threw that, is that how you lost your eyesight, by getting hit in the face with the ball?
Yeah, well, I was born with glaucoma, so I always had poor vision, but my vision was it was consistent, it was steady, it was holding. So I was taking care of my eyes. I had several surgeries, and I could see well enough. I don't want to say I had perfect vision, because I did not. I could see big things like buses. I could see well enough to ride a bike. I could skate. I could see a book. I couldn't see the print in the book, or I could see the bus, but I couldn't see the bus number.
Right.
And plus, I was suffering from uveitis, so that I was very, very, very light sensitive. So I saw better at night when due to the contrast and things of that nature. So I used a closed circuit TV and things of that nature. So, but anyway, so that happened, and then later on, I just happened to be at the wrong place, wrong time, and some people nearby was playing soccer, and somebody kicked the ball or hit the ball or threw the ball or whatever, and it hit a rail and ricocheted off and hit me in my face. And so I actually lost my sight due to a detached retina, not to glaucoma.
Wow.
So yeah, that's how I lost my sight. So anyway, so where was I?
Yeah, sorry. So you were so because of that, you didn't have any desire to be out on a field.
I had no desire to be out there with having flying things flying in my head.
Understandably.
So then it was time to swing. So I was going up there, and here I am. I'm like, I know how to hold a bat. I remember telling the pitcher that Kevin, that I know how to hold a bat. You don't have to show me how to hold a bat. And apparently I was holding it wrong, because he still had to show me how to do it. And then so when I went up there and he pitched to me, I hit the ball. I was like, oh, okay, that sort of felt good. And I didn't think anything else of beat baseball at that time. We left the retreat. I went on about my business. I finished college, and then that was the end of it. So I'm here. I'm originally from Dallas, Texas, and I'm there after college. I'm looking for work and I'm miserable because at the time the economy was really bad, similar to this situation. We didn't have COVID-19 back then. It wasn't due to a disease, but the economy was just really bad back in 2008. And so I was not getting any type of interviews or anything like that. But Richie was constantly like, "Oh, move to Austin. You could play beat baseball, or there's a beat baseball team in your city." He was talking about the Lone Star Roadrunners. You should go play with them. And I'm like, dude, I'm trying to get a job. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that.
Right.
I don't want to hear anything about beat baseball that I don't even like, by the way. I don't want to hear it. So then, several years go by, and I told, I'm staying with my mom at the time. Like, Mom, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna go to Austin. I'm gonna go stay down there for a year, look for a job. If I get a job, I'll stay. If not, then I'll come back. So while I was down there, God bless me, I was able to become gainfully employed.
Nice.
and then Richie was still in my face about it, because he was in Austin, and now I'm here with him, and he's like, "Yeah, you should come out. Just come out." I'm like, "No, dude, stop. I just got a job. Leave me alone." No, what are you talking about? He's like, just come to one practice, just one practice. And I'm like, fine, I will come to one practice, but will you leave me alone? He's like, as long as you actually try to do it, you can't come in with a bad attitude, just already thinking you're not going to like it. I said, okay. So I went. And I got out there and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing, but I'm super competitive. So I was getting irritated at myself because I wasn't catching any balls. I didn't know what I was doing wrong. I was thinking off the top of my head, oh, this is gonna be easy. I'm doing it just like go ball. I played go ball in high school. It's just like go ball, but it's nothing like go ball. So I got out there and I was unable to feel the ball, and I was unable to hit the ball consistently. At the end of the practice, Richie's like, well, what did you think? I'm like, yeah, I'm coming back. Because I had to pick up a ball. I had to hit the ball. So I wasn't doing that. So I'm like, I need to do this. And I just kept coming back after that. Like, literally, 2 days after that practice, I went and bought cleats. And then after that, then I've been involved ever since. So since 2012, that's when I got involved and attended my first World Series in 2013.
Awesome. Well, that was just after I haven't been, even though I've tried to stay involved with the league, I haven't actually been at a World Series since '09. So you came along after I had played for over 20 years up to that point. All right, so let's dive into wool. I've been trying to think of like the right way to jump into this because I think it's I think it's great that you guys are doing it. I think it's a great organization, but I also think that people should know the honesty behind it, I guess, at least the way I see it. And so I guess give just a couple thoughts and see if I'm kind of in the right direction of what planted the first seed. The NBBA has been around. If the tournament's able to be held this year would be the 45th annual Beepball World Series. And in that 45 years, the entire 45 years, the sport has been a co-ed sport. And I believe this to be true, that the majority of people, like people that just come to watch the sport for the very first time ever, come to our World Series, even spend an entire day watching multiple teams, could walk away probably having no idea that it's a co-ed sport. Am I anywhere close to what was kind of the first seed planted? What got wool started?
Oh, yes. I guess I think that I would agree with you there. No, I don't think that anybody from the outside looking in, I don't think that they would realize that this is a co-ed sport. I don't think so.
Right.
So yeah.
So I know. I know that you describe yourself as I describe it starting from a conversation between you and one other person. Could you walk us through what got the ball rolling?
Okay, so what happened was the Austin Blackhawks was invited. We were invited to go to the Dominican Republic to teach their team to play beep baseball, and at least that's what I thought. And when we got there, we did do that, but it was more of a promotional, something like a promotional tour in some ways. Right. But anyway, it was really cool. I appreciate the opportunity. I was very, very fortunate that I was one of the people who were chosen, because we could not take our whole team because it is very expensive to go over there. So I was one of the people who was chosen. I believe we took 11 players. I think so, and I may be wrong on that. It may have been 8 players, but I was one of the people who was chosen. Right. And so after we went through all the bus tours and going to TV stations and newspapers, all that, after we got through all of that, we eventually made it over to their baseball stadium. And this was a big deal because this is where we meet Pedro Martinez. And of course, I told you before, I didn't know anything about baseball. So we walk in and they're like, "Oh, that's Pedro Martinez," and I'm like, "Who? Who is this guy?"
Just for other people who also don't know baseball, he's only a Hall of Famer. So
I didn't know who he was. And so he comes out and happy and stuff. And so we finally go out to the dugout, and we found out that he's gonna pitch the first pitch, and he wants to pitch to two of our players. So our pitcher at the time, Kevin Simpson, he chose two of us, and it was myself and Zach. I'm not sure how to say his last name, but I'm just gonna say Arambula, and I'm sure I messed that up. I'm sorry. But he's Zach with the Jets, that guy.
Jet life.
Oh my gosh! I can't believe you did that. That's okay. So then we were both chosen. So Zach, he goes up there, and everybody's going, "Wow, yeah, it's great." And they're telling him, "Hey, you have to be quiet. You're supposed to be quiet for this sport. You have to be quiet." And so the crowd gets extremely quiet, but they're still cheering for him in a way, right? So he goes up there, he hits the ball. Everybody goes, "Wow!" It was crazy. I've never seen that many people before. So I was like, "Wow, okay." So then I go up. So I'm walking up to the plate, and it's like crickets. Like no one's saying anything. And I'm like, now they want to be quiet?
Yeah, what'd I do?
For me, what did I do? So it's like no one cheering. So I'm like, okay, well, whatever. I'm gonna go up there and do my thing. So I go up there. Eventually I hit the ball, and then still, it's like we hear a little bit, but not nearly as loud as Zach was. I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I'm walking off, and I go back to the dugout, and Richie Flores, he says, well, he's like, don't you think it would be cool if we had like an all-female game? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, did you see how they were reacting towards you? I'm like, yeah, but I just thought they were being quiet because we told them to be quiet. He's like, no, it's because you're a female. Females don't play ball. Not over here. Females don't play ball over here. And I was like, oh. I was like, well, yeah, I think that would be cool, but, I was very, very new to the league. So, this is only my second year playing beat baseball. So I'm like, yeah, I think that would be cool, but I don't think they'll let us do it. I was like, I don't think they'll let us do it. He's like, I'm going to do it. And I'm thinking, well, he probably can do it because he knows way more people than I do in the league. Again, this is only my second year. So I'm like, well, if you get started, I'll help. I'll help out however I can. Just let me know. He's like, yeah, we're going to do it. This is my mission. We're going to get it done. And I didn't hear anything else about it. Not like I heard like bits and pieces of it, but I was just thinking, this is my friend just talking about a dream. His dream. I have a dream, So then, finally, he's like, hey, I think we're going to do it now. One year, I think this is like a couple years later. So the first Will Game was in 2016. So in 2015, he's like, yeah, I think we're going to do it next year for the World Series. So in 2015, we had this big meeting during the World Series, and I was so surprised to have all these women. I'm like, where did you guys come from? Because when I was here, I had no clue that we had that many people, that many women in the league. And I was like, wow. I was really surprised. And I was just sitting there. I was still sitting in the back, just, sort of being observing. Right. And Richie's like, hey, you guys, this is what we're trying to do. We want you guys to be a part of it. And if you think we can do it, we hope you stick with us throughout the journey. And he made it happen, and then he stepped back, and here we are today.
Well, that's awesome. Leading up to this, I knew Richie I remember him being involved from the beginning. At that time, I was a member of the tournament committee. I was not a member of the board, but I would still, like whatever board like conference calls they have, I always would call in and listen to those. And I can remember Richie being a voice at the beginning. I had no idea when I was going to ask you who the other person was. I expected it to be another female, to be honest with you. I didn't know that it was going to be Richie, so that's cool. I'm glad that he jumped in with both feet and helped push it.
Yeah, he was all in, and he was talking about it forever. And before it came to be, I was like, dude, get over it already. They're not going to take us. They're not going to have us. I mean, because we don't have anything like that. They didn't have anything like this before, and there was nothing leading up to it. There was no talk of it. There was nothing. It was just a co-ed sport, allegedly a co-ed sport, but the females were sort of kind of hidden meaning sitting on the benches, or if they would play only if there was not enough players. They didn't have enough players, and I just didn't think it was going to happen, but he made it happen. You know, he had enough pull, or he knew enough people to, you know, get their attention. He made enough noise that they start noticing. Hey, man, he's not going away. Let's listen.
And what year did you say that first meeting was?
Oh, the first meeting was in 2015, I think, and don't quote me. It might be 20. No, the first game was 2016, so it had to be 2015. So 2015 was the first meeting, and then 2016, that's when we did our first game. And if I'm wrong, ladies, y'all just shoot me, okay? But I'm right.
You can't shoot the captain. That's the captain of the bombshells right there. So how has it gone since then?
Well, you want to be honest, or you want to sugarcoat it?
Oh, you know, I'm soft and delicate, so you should sugarcoat it.
Well, I mean, in the beginning, it was very rocky. We had pretty much little to no support from the board. We were given a field and some other things, but no funding, no help for everything we did. We had to do ourselves. We had to do our own fundraising. We had to get our own medals. We had everything we had to do on our own. And we had, in the beginning, we were doing that for a long time, up until last year when I don't know if it was officially, because we're still having some problems with it right now, but when we were asked to come back over to the NBBA. So we're like, okay, I thought in our mind we thought we were a part of the NBBA, but maybe we were, maybe we weren't. That part is very, very unclear. So we're still trying to figure it out, working out those kinks. But in the beginning, it was a little rocky. We put together a board. This is none of us had never did it before. It was a little bit rocky. We had a lot of miscommunications and things of that nature. But once we figured it out and got it going, then it did start to iron itself out. I work with even before and present, I work with a lot of awesome ladies who are willing to put in the work to make it happen because they believed in it the way I believe in it. So we've been making it work. We're making it work.
All right, so I am going to jump in just a little bit because, like I said, I was a member of the tournament committee when this came to us. We ended up passing it to the board, mostly because the tournament committee. It doesn't matter if it's Jan Trapphagen is the first vice president. It doesn't if whoever it's going to be in the future, whoever it was before her. The first vice president and the tournament committee are tasked with one thing really, and that is putting on the tournament. And the tournament is a ton of work. I mean, I actually want to be the first vice president for this league. And I'm not getting any younger, so I guess sooner than later is my hope. If the league would have me when the time comes, but in part because as a member of the committee for a long time, I understand how it works and I know what I'm getting into. But in the end, I mean, the putting on the World Series is just a ton of work, and the committee shouldn't be tasked with adding anything to it. Like when we go to cities and there's like the tournament committee's never in charge of setting up any like extra stuff. You know what I mean? If there's a city that ends up having like a tour of something on a Thursday night, whatever, it's totally on the city to put all that on. The first vice president and that person's assistants, and again, it doesn't matter who they are, like the week of the tournament, they sleep like a couple hours a night because they're constantly shuffling stuff for the entire tournament. If there's a rain delay or if any kind of volunteers don't show up, anything gets thrown in that, it just constantly is creating chaos. And I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying that the tournament committee as a whole cannot like take on the task of putting on extra stuff in addition to the tournament. But one thing that we did do is kick it to the normally it was just a hard no. because believe me, like all kinds of ideas when I was part of the committee would come to the committee. Like, yeah, we should put on this, we should put on that, we should bring back old timers, have an old timers game. The young players aren't getting to play enough. We should have a game for just young people. You know what I mean? There's always ideas, and I can only speak for myself. I'm not saying any of them are bad ideas, but the tournament committee can't take it and run with it because it's a job in itself. You know that, I believe, after being such a big part of Wool, that like everything to go with it, it's a job in itself in a way. But we did think it valuable enough. Most things we just said, no, look, we can't do that. With Wool, we at least kicked it to the board because we thought it was important enough for the board to consider. And I think in the end, I can't speak, I wasn't a voting member of the board, but I think in the end, it came down to like setting a precedent, like after saying no to other stuff, saying yes, like opens the door. If they give you funding, if they give you balls, then when people come to them and say, we want to have an old timers game, there are male players that go to tournament after tournament that don't get any playing time. Like, you know what I mean? If one of them got the spark to have a game for all the guys that don't get to play during the week, maybe I'm being ridiculous at this point, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean? The league at that point, I think they were supportive of it, but they were, I think, nervous to completely back it just because it would open the door for anybody that wants to do any other kind of extra thing. Go ahead.
No, and I totally get it, and you're right. Just putting together the Wool game in that one game, it takes so much work. So I can only imagine how much work goes into putting together the entire World Series. So I totally appreciate the work and I'm thankful. I can't speak for everybody. I am thankful for it,
right.
And I appreciate everything that the tournament committee does and the board does. I'm just speaking regarding when Wool first came out. I believe that Mr. Green was the president. Dave
right.
Green,
yes,
he was the president, and I don't want to say that he supported us full out because I have no idea if he did or did not. But
I actually can tell you he did. Dan and I are friendly. I can consider us friends, but we haven't always agreed on stuff politically, and we've gotten it's even I'll even admit that some of our disagreements have been ugly. So I don't want to make it. Dan and I don't like pat each other on the backs and agree with each other, but he was supportive of Wool.
Well, and it showed because he came out and he sat on our bench with us. He came
cool.
out and he sat on our bench with us, and he was joking around with us. And this is, again, I'm fairly new to the league, and I'm really sad that I didn't get a chance to get to know him because like the next year he's like all right, I'm retiring, I'm stepping down.
Yeah.
So it was sort of sad,
right.
but we did appreciate the fact that you guys gave us an opportunity to at least be to at least give it a shot.
Right.
We appreciate that, and at the time, even we appreciate the support that you did give us. But we were very, 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 very new. Anything that cost money came out of our pockets, and when I say our, I mean the Wool Committee's pocket. Like we didn't have any we didn't have any time to do any fundraising the year before.
Yeah.
So we had to figure that out as we went, and then finally, now we're just now getting to a situation where I can honestly say that I feel more comfortable when I say, hey, we're going to do a fundraiser, and I think it's going to work.
Right.
But back then, if you had asked, I'm like, no, we don't have any money. We can't do that. We can't afford it. So, that's what I mean. I hope I'm not rambling or.
No, you're not. And actually, again, I didn't want to. I told you before we started recording that I wasn't sure where I would, because we knew ahead of time we were going to talk about the support or lack of. So I wasn't sure where to put it in, and then once I jumped in, I hope I didn't I wasn't trying to hijack this thing. I do want to finish with a couple thoughts on that though, and one is. In the end, I guess like looking at things from a sociological aspect, I'm not even sure if I'm saying the word right, but I don't know. Like when you look at things on whether or not they should be done or not, I guess one thing that's important for me is there a shortage of something, or is there a real need? And so, like the other examples I brought up, there's male players that never get to play. They could whatever. There's young players that don't get to play enough. We could have a game for a futures game. We could have an old timers game. But the old timers already played. They already had their time in the spotlight. The young players, when they grow up, this is a grown up sport. It's not a kid sport. It's a grown up sport. The kids, if they love the sport enough and keep coming back, are going to get their chances later. Any guys that are sitting on a bench, there aren't any shortage of male players. There are, however, for what we call a co-ed sport, there's a huge shortage of female players, and for that reason alone, I wasn't a voting member of the board, and I don't know how much more influence I could have had. But as the years have gone by, looking back on it, that's one thing that I've thought about more than once. That if just because of that one aspect, that there's a shortage. You know what I mean? There aren't a lot of females playing, and there's a reason for that probably. And so I think the league should have embraced it more. Even though, like I said, it sent them down a slippery slope if they did, as far as supporting other things. But this was different enough and unique enough that it should have got more support. And if the current administration's giving you support now, I applaud that. I'm not sure if they are or not, but if you're getting more now than you were before, I applaud that, because you should be.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. We are definitely getting recognition. I'll say that. I don't want to say we're not getting support, but I will say that there is a big, huge communication problem. But I think once we iron that out, hopefully things will run a little bit more smoothly, and hopefully we'll get things, up and running to where it meets everybody's needs.
Right.
So that's one of our goals. We need to, if we are, and again, this is unclear, we're still trying to figure it out. If we are a part of the NBBA, we need to have some type of communication with the board, and that's all it is. And hopefully we'll be able to get that, sooner rather than later. That's one of our goals this year. If we have a World Series,
Right.
Even if we don't have a World Series,
well,
we need to have an open line of communication with the board. We need people to respond to us. If we are a part of the league, please respond to us. We want to play too.
Now, I even if there isn't a World Series, there will be a board meeting. So you know what I mean. Call into that board meeting, and don't be quiet. And my last thought on that, because I've been part of teams in their beginnings more than once, and honestly, I just loved the game enough, and I wanted to be on a team at the World Series, and my commitment was always to get myself there and do everything I could to get a team there in any way possible. And I never cared if we were going to have sponsors or whatever. You know what I mean? When we started the Dogs, actually, the four of us, the main four that started the team, Seth Clark, Eric Mazariegos, Don Robinson, and myself, we started it with a condition that we are only going to accept players that were committed to our goal of being at the World Series, because we'd been on teams where people thought they had sponsorship, and it gets to June and the player finds out that they don't have a full ride, their airfare isn't going to be covered, and they bail out on you, and you end up with like 7 or 8 players at the World Series, and we didn't want to deal with that. So I guess all that, sorry if I went too far on a tangent, all that to say that it means more, I think, if you just jump out and take what you want and take what you need. You know what I mean? You guys want something for yourselves, go get it. You know what I mean? Don't need. I think I've just said it on this show. I think the NBBA should support you, but don't need it. You know what I mean? Forget it. Go take what you want. Take what you want.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and we're working hard to put together something hopefully unique and fun. We're trying, right now, the Women of Our League game is an exposition game at this time. But it's supposed to be more than that, and we hope that one day it can be more than that. One day we hope it to be something like maybe a scholarship program for new female teams or something like that, or I mean, it's so many different ideas that are out there that we could do with this if we could just keep it consistently up and running. So that's we just need some. We have right now. I'm working with a group of awesome ladies. Like I said before, we have a little bit of money. We don't have that much money right now, but we're still working on it. We're constantly coming up with different fundraisers, and we appreciate all of our sponsors. I do want to give a quick shout out to Booker. He has been very, 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 very supportive of the Women of Our League. He would constantly help us out with contacts for our T-shirts, so we can get our T-shirts done and things like that. Helping us with discounts and things of that nature. So I did want to give that shout out to Booker. He has been awesome, and he's been one of our biggest supporters. And so thank you for that, Booker, and everybody else who supports the Women of Our League. Thank you. We're still new to a certain extent, and we are still learning. And we do want this to be more than what it is, and we hope to come up with really good ideas to spice up the game a little bit. And whatever it is that we're planning this year, if we're unable to do it in 2020, hopefully we'll be able to bring it to the World Series in 2021.
So, I mean, and thumbs up to Booker. Speaking of the shirts, so can people only purchase the shirts at the World Series at this point? I'm ashamed to say I don't have a shirt. I wish I did. I'd be wearing it right now proudly while we did the show.
Well, this is the deal. We've had several. I think we've had 3 shirts that were moderately successful, I guess, and I think that we are done with the T-shirt thing. Now, I shouldn't say that because who knows? We might come back up with a better T-shirt design later. But our first T-shirt was the one that says "We're all about that bass." We're all about that bass, and then
you dirty girls.
But it was like a person sliding into bass.
Oh, okay. That's funny. That's funny. That's funny.
And then it had like a picture of a bomb from the bombshells, and then a piece of dynamite for the Dynamic Divas. And, it was all white. You could tell it was our first one because it was an all white shirt. I'm like, who wears white shirts anymore? Now I'm looking back, and then I believe, and I might be wrong, but I believe that our second shirt was Pitch Please, and that's the one that sold the most. That was our best-selling shirt. Was Pitch Please, and it was the bomb diggity. I love that shirt, and oh my gosh, I can't remember how. I think it was a black shirt, and it had a picture of a hand like throwing a ball into a glove, and it says "Pitch Please" on it. And so that was that shirt, and then our last shirt that is sold, but we still have some left over. But that one was "Where My Pitch Is At." So,
you guys are clever. I wish I had every one of those.
We got a little bit of feedback from the board, and they're like, we're borderline being
you
can't wear it. So we're like, well, at least my coach here, Rebecca Lewis, and I, we're like, yeah, we're done with T-shirts. We're done with T-shirts for a while. So we're coming up with different ideas, other ideas for fundraising. So last year we were raffling off an Alexa, and that did pretty well. We also had some other door prizes that we were raffling off during the Wool game and at the banquet. So I mean, we did pretty good. We did pretty good.
Right. All right, this is a good transition because you brought up both teams.
Wait. I'm sorry. Yeah. I didn't even answer your question. Can you get shirts?
Oh, yeah, I forgot I asked that.
We have, like I said, the last shirt, Where My Pitch Is At. We still have some of those, so if you're interested, you can just contact me afterwards, we can see what sizes we have, and we can hook you up. All right. Actually, we'll probably give you one for free for letting me on the show.
No, I feel like I'm late, so I feel like I still need to contribute. I'd be proud to contribute. So let's jump into the teams. Let's have some fun. Tell us about the Southwest Bombshells and the Dynamic Divas. How many members do you have? How do you guys work it out? How do you practice?
Okay, so it's okay. So when we first started, those are the questions that we came up with. How are we supposed to split up all these women for who are all over the United States. How do we do this? So we came up that we were going to do it Northeast and then Southwest because the majority of the women came from those regions.
Right.
And depending on depending on which team they played for, that's the team they were going to play with. That's how it started out. Now today, it appears as if you can choose whatever team you want to play for, because we have some people who technically are supposed to be playing with the Bombshells who are playing with the Divas. So I don't think at this point, I don't think it matters as long as we have enough players to play. The whole goal of the women of our league is any female who wants to play will play. So if you come on, we're going to do our best to get you in the game. I don't want to say we're going to do our best. You will play. You'll have an opportunity to play. So that's how that came out. Now the Bombshells. The majority of the Bombshells, we're pretty fortunate because the majority of the Bombshells are Texas female players.
I've noticed that you seem to have a lot of Texas players. Got Jamie, Kathy Truxell. You got a bunch. Yes. You got a bunch of Texans in there.
See, and Kathleen Truxell, she's a Florida girl. She plays with the Dynamic Divas.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
She played with us for 1 year, and then she went back to the Divas. So, I mean, that's why I'm saying I believe that that people can choose whichever team they want. But we have Jamie, then we have Crystal, and we have Sarai, and we have Keisha, and myself, and we have all. I mean, oh gosh, what's the other girl? I can't think of everybody's name. Tori Lynch, and we have several girls. So anyway, my point is that because all of us are from Texas, or the majority of us are from Texas, we're able to at least get one practice in before the World Series. And we have also I'm the captain of the Bombshells, and then our coach is Molly Fleming, and she's also our lead pitcher for the Bombshells. And most of the time, Molly and I will get together. Hey, when is a good day to have a practice? We'll make it happen. Most of the time, we call it a bomb hawk practice because we'll do we combine it with one of the Blackhawks practices, and we'll say, hey, Blackhawks, you can come, but we're running this today. This is our practice.
Playing by our rules.
And we try to make it fun. We try to be silly with it a little bit, just to keep it creative. And like, okay, if you're gonna come to a Bombshells practice, you need to have a female name. So it's just funny, just little stuff that we will come up with. Like we'll come up with oh gosh, and it was like criteria to the names.
Please, God, tell me Wayne Simpson has a girl name.
He does. And
what is it?
I want to say his is Wilhelmina or something. I'm not. I can't remember the exact name. And oh my goodness, all of the guys had female names, and we were just being silly. Just being silly, calling them by their female names while they were at the practice. And it was funny. Now, if Jamie was on here, she could remember those names like crazy. Like I forget them, but oh my gosh, there's so many. And And then we even gave Dan Green one because he sat on our bench that year. I think it was Danielle. I think he was Danielle. But the funniest ones.
Dan Green would be the ugliest woman that ever lived.
And then so Rosie Reed, her husband Larry,
right.
and then Ronald. What's his last name? You know the guy who hits super hard from Tyler. I'm sorry, I forgot your last name.
I don't have any idea.
Jordan. Is it Jordan? I believe it's Ronald Jordan. But him, they when they come to our practices, oh my goodness, they go take it a step further. They do the voices and.
Oh wow!
It's ridiculous. What is Laura Latrice? That's Larry's. Laura Latrice. And then oh my goodness, what is his name? It's Rolanda Rochelle. That's their name. So anyway, my point is that if you're coming to a female practice, Steve Guerra came down too. Oh my goodness, he had one too. I think we were calling him Stephanie.
I've been calling Steve Guerra Stephanie for 20 years. Whatever he calls, whenever I answer the phone, I'm like Stephanie.
Well, that's good. No wonder he was so easy to.
I only call him Steve. I only call him Steve when I need something.
Gotcha. But it was fun. We always try to make it fun. We do an all-day practice because some of the girls are coming in from out of town. So we have like Rosie Reed. She's coming in from Tyler, and then we'll have what is her name? I can't think of her name, but she's in the Dallas area. She comes in from Dallas, and Crystal also comes in from Dallas. So we try to do an all-day practice, and we'll do like a 9 to 3 practice, and then that's on Saturday, and then we'll do a half a day on Sunday, and then everybody goes back home. So we're fortunate. Now for the Divas, they have been having a little bit of trouble on scheduling a practice before the World Series. They have had a little bit of problems. They've attempted several times, and it's just been falling through. But they're still going at it. Every year they try. So one day it's going to happen.
Are they more spread out than you guys are?
Yes, they are. They're much more spread out, and
that makes it tough.
They're way spread out, and so it makes it a little bit more expensive for them to get to practice, just to have for one practice. So that's what's going on there. But they are trying. They're trying, and I believe that eventually they will get their practice together and have an opportunity to practice the same way that the Bombshells have that opportunity. And then also at the World Series, the Bombshells, we get together maybe the day before the Wool game, which is now on Wednesday night, and we do some batting practice with both of our pitchers, which is Molly Fleming and Cassie Niff. So we get together with those ladies and we practice batting, and we do some defense as well. And then on Wednesday we bring it to the field.
Go rock the house. So what? Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I said we try. That's all I said was we try.
So going forward, what's your hope? What's your plan going forward?
Again, like I said, Wool has so much potential, and I hope that I'm still involved, in the future to see it go on to bigger and better things. We have so many ideas, but right now, since we're so we're in my opinion, we're still sort of new, and we're still trying to figure it out. We're still trying to gain that money so we can do more things. Right now, our focus is to build revenue. We need some money.
Right.
We need some money for all these ideas that we're throwing out there. If we want to sponsor a team, we need money to sponsor a team. If we want to give a scholarship to a female who's never been to the World Series before, we need money to give away that money. You know what I mean?
Right.
We don't have that right now. So that's what our main focus is lately is to raise money so we can do some of those things and to spice up the exposition game. Right now it is a little boring. That's what we've been hearing, because our first game, oh my goodness, we had so many fans out there our very first game, and they just over the years they just start to dwindle, and we hope to get that fan base back up so people can come out and enjoy the game the way they did our very first game. And it was a lot of fun. That was my favorite game. It was, oh my gosh, it was so fun.
One thing I think might help. All these dudes that come to your practices and take on their female counterparts. If you got them to all go to the Wool game wearing mankinis, so they go out there, sign some autographs. You know what I mean? Like, spice it up. You said you want to spice it up a little bit.
I wasn't thinking about that though. I didn't know about that. I don't know about that.
Well,
I do think that we'll have some takers for sure. I think Brendan Chesser, his name is Brandy. So Brendan Chesser, I think that he may do it. And of course, Larry and the Tyler guys, they'll do it too. I think so. But yeah, if we get that fan base back, that would be great.
So tell people, I already mentioned the Facebook page. I'll mention it again. It's the NBBA Women of Our League. Easy to find. Go check them out. Are there other ways people could, I've got at least 10, 20 people that listen to my show every week. I might even have one of them that might be rich. So if somebody wants to reach out to you, make a donation, or wants to maybe be a player for you guys, how they get in touch with you? What's the best way?
Well, that Facebook page is one way, and then on the NBBA page is nbba.org/wool, WOOL.
Okay.
So that's our page, and we're in the process of updating that right now as we speak. We have a registration form on there. We hope to have the games up there pretty soon, and we, some brief bios up there. And we're trying to spice it up a little bit, so we are working to try to get that updated as quickly as possible. Another way is through via email, and that's wool@nbba.org, and you guys can reach out via that way. And each team has their own Facebook page as well, so you can go to NBBA Dynamic Divas on Facebook, or you can go to NBBA Southwest Bombshells on Facebook, and that's how you reach out to the individual teams.
I didn't know that. I'll give them each a follow.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And you can, if you know any of the committee members in the committee, as myself, I'm a co-chair, and Rebecca Lewis, she's a co-chair. Keisha Holmes, she is the secretary. Kalari Gertley Jackson is the social media specialist, and we have Allie LaFon, who is the membership chair. You can reach out to any of those ladies as well, and if they don't know the answer, they'll put you in touch with one of us meaning Rebecca or myself, and then we'll be happy to help you.
Shout out to Rebecca. She put me in touch with you very quickly, got back to me very quickly, hooked me up with you, and I believe she's been a fairly consistent listener to the show I've been doing. I appreciate that, so shout out to Rebecca. All right, I got some final questions for you that might be tough to answer, but I'm going to throw them at you anyway before I let you get out of here.
I'm ready. I'm a soldier. I'm ready.
All right. So if I'm like a little girl listening to this show and I live in like Vermont and there's no beepball team around me, but I think this sounds really cool, would I be able to get in touch with you guys and hook up with your team, even though I'm not on a team anywhere where I live?
Well, it's funny that you're asking that. Well, the Wool is we're attempting to start up a mentoring program. We're attempting to do a partnership with Cool. We haven't discussed with Cool yet, so I just wanted to put that out there. Cool. So no, you didn't miss any emails. we're trying to see what that would look like to have something like a partnership with the kids of our league. And so what they would do, what that individual would do would reach out to the kids of our league, and if they wanted to be involved in Wool, they could reach out to the women of our league, and hopefully, if we get the mentoring program up and running, then they will be assigned to a mentor with the women of our league. That's what we hope to do. That's what we're trying to do. So the best way to reach out would be to go to that email address, which is wool@nbba.org. Let us know what's going on, and then you'll have some discussions, and we'll put you in touch with whichever committee will serve that person's needs best.
All right, so that takes care of the little people. What if I'm an old woman and I live in like Alaska and there's no team near me, but I think this sounds so cool, I'm going to show up at the World Series. Can I get involved and possibly play?
You can come out and you can try your hand at beat baseball if you really want to play. Again, the Women of Our League was designed for women who want to play. They will have an opportunity to play. If it's just, no matter if it's just you fielding a ball or you swinging a bat for the first time, you will still have an opportunity to come out and at least try to play, and then we go from there. So give us a shout out, come out, try it. If you want to come out. Maybe you might have an opportunity to go to someone's practice because we're all spread out. One of the board members is somewhere close to you. If you can't get to Texas, maybe you can get to Chicago, or maybe you can get to New York, or something along those lines. And you can get up there. You can have an opportunity to at least see what it's like, and then try your hand at playing once you get to the World Series.
So then the bottom line is they're all welcome if they can get all there. Welcome. If they want to be there and they could get there, they're all welcome.
Yes.
All right.
That's my convoluted answer.
I have two final questions, the most important questions of the night. If I were to sing Shania Twain's "I Feel Like a Woman" in front of the entire NBBA, would you let me play in the Wool game?
I would probably disown you and.
Oh. Well.
I mean, wait a minute. Are you going to give us some money? If you're giving us some money, then
money. me singing's worth money. That's priceless. Can't put a value on that. But I guess that kind of answers the next question. I guess I'm not going to get a positive answer. I was going to ask, I assumed you'd say no to that because you weren't going to let me play. But if I sang the same song, I Feel Like a Woman, in front of the entire NBBA, would you kick Kalari Gertley Jackson out of your club?
Absolutely not.
Ah, boo! Boo!
That is my girl. No, sir. We're going to keep her around for a little while.
Man, since I was just wiping my eye again, I'm going to apologize. The whole time we've been talking, I have glasses on for whatever stupid reason since I'm sitting in my house, but I've got glasses on and my allergies are driving me crazy. My eyes have been watering. I probably look like you've made me feel very sensitive and emotional through this whole talk. So I've been constantly like taking a tissue and wiping the bottom of my glasses, trying to keep my eyes wiped. So I'm sorry for...
I have that effect on people, so I totally understand. You go right ahead and you use as much tissue as you need, okay? I got you. No worries.
Bam Bam would be very quick to tell you I am a little crybaby, so most people wouldn't be surprised at all. Well, Faith, this has been a ton of fun. I hope you enjoyed this. I really enjoyed this episode. You did a great job. Thank you for coming on here and talking about your organization. It's a fun episode. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me. And if you ever need anything from us, I'm not sure what we can do, but we're here for you. We got you.
I appreciate it, and right back at you guys. I mean, I don't know if you let boys with cooties volunteer for you guys outside of Richie, but
no, we kicked him out.
But
yes, really, we appreciate any type of volunteers. The game itself, we try to keep that all female based, but other things, we're happy to take volunteers. Let us know if you're truly interested in helping out. Let us know. We're not sure what you can do, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Just let us know, because we appreciate everything all the support that we have received. Thank you.
That's my pleasure, and I like I said at the beginning of the show, going forward, I want to start doing more feature type stuff, because you can only talk about the do's and don'ts of playing the game so much. So I'd like to start doing more feature type stuff. So I would like to have more members of your organization on down the road.
Okay, yeah, we can make that happen. Just keep in touch with us, and we can make it happen.
All right, sounds good. I'm going to grab my phone and end this. So thank you, everybody. Happy Mother's Day to everybody that applies to. And I don't know what we'll be doing next Sunday, but I know if I'm alive, I'll be here doing it. So everybody have a good night, and good night to you, Aunt Cindy.
Finish. Button.